Good job.
Thanks. Kind of bullshitty on that, but
okay. Well, you sounded good, bullshitter. All right, welcome to the podcast, folks. It's Two Lonely Boys in a Canoe. I'm Chris Evans. That's Trevor Ahlstrom, also known as
Gravel Shits,
and Gorgeous George. Today joining us, we're having him. It's Gradient. What's good?
Hey, what up, y'all?
There he goes. Yeah, he's going to be helping us out with some stuff, man. Hopefully we'll get this podcast produced a little bit better. How do you feel, man? How's your day going?
I feel solid. We're just rolling into it gently,
man.
Right? I don't know what to expect
toes
here.
wet. Toes wet.
I ain't. You can't credit me for the production of this yet. I'm just here as a guest, and then I'm gonna move into.
You are a guest at the moment, but
right.
You're learning. You're learning and evolving. You're like AI, you know.
Right.
They talk about Skynet. It's more like this guy here.
Pretty much like I'm like Diddy meets Russell Simmons here. Like just,
you ever seen
you
that?
Guys, one of you is Biggie. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have the Biggie shirt,
there
so
you go.
You can meet.
He's producing the hell out of you, and he's making money off of your ass.
Do you want to be Raekwon the chef?
Nope.
No.
I'm gonna be Trick Daddy. Trick loves the kids.
Hey, Wu-Tang Clan's for the children, all right? That's what they say.
People might hear more hip hop discussion on this shit just from
very
me
true.
Rolling up.
Yep.
Me rolling up. Been doing hip hop in this community for 10 years.
There you go, man. 10 years deep, a decade.
That's right. Well, I went to college for 4, so I guess I did it around here for 5 or 6 years, roughly.
You had to get an education.
And now we pushing it harder and harder, baby.
There you go, man.
Nice.
We out cheer.
You gotta push it hard.
We pushing.
I was just telling y'all, like, even just like, being known as Gradient on this shit that I'm doing here is because I gotta put my name out there more, man.
You got to have an outlet for your creativity, man. You can't keep this all boxed up. You gotta let your wings fly. You're a peacock flying into the sun over a rainbow. I love that from the other guys, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a peacock flying into the sun. And then they're all like, it's so great. It's so great.
Peacocks have weird calls, by the way. I've heard them just go off. And if you're not used to peacocks, you don't know. It sounds like a murder scene is going on. Like, it's a little unsettling in the rain, like in the fog, and then you just hear this weird wailing sound. Like, what the fuck is that? And someone who's there is like, that's just a peacock. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know how many times I've heard a peacock.
Dude, I've heard some peacocks. How about you, Grady? Peacocks going off. They have a... When you're not expecting it, it's weird.
Yo, I gotta say the full extent of my peacock experiences totally confined to zoos.
Yeah, exactly. You don't just see them strolling around and shit.
Apparently, like, places I've been at, there were peacocks around, so...
It's even cool to see a zoo, a peacock roaming around the
peacocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw one, like, near the bathrooms and shit, Oregon Zoo.
Trevor's just like walking around in a zoo. He's like, look at all these peacocks. I wonder where they came from.
No, when I lived in Sacramento once, there was a spot I lived at. A neighbor had a fucking peacock, and then when I was in Humboldt, there was a couple places I was at, some pot farms I was on, where there were fucking peacocks. It was weird, but I mean, I've just been attracting the peacocks, been peacocking.
What the fuck?
That's how we roll here, peacocks. That's
where
the first topic.
Where the fuck are the feathers? You gotta have a collection of these things. Where are your peacock feathers?
That was years ago. I've moved multiple times.
This guy telling me you didn't keep one peacock feather.
No,
he was talking like they were on every street corner. They were selling things at the bodegas.
Yeah, it was raining peacocks. I just looked up and peacock to the face. I mean, that's what was going on.
We do have an egg shortage right now, so it'd be funny if we go to roll up to the grocery store, like
ostriches,
for some eggs, and they're like, "We do have a dozen peacock eggs for you."
I would try that.
Of course. Who the fuck wouldn't try peacock eggs?
Peacock eggs with some Cholula.
Velociraptors figured it out before humans, man. Eggs are delicious.
Yes, you're right. Velociraptors are definitely on it.
So the thing is, we can talk about dinosaurs, but the reality is they never existed.
It's like the Earth is flat, man.
They're to test our faith. Yes, I've heard that, and that is mind blowing to me. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, if all those bones didn't exist, you know, if all those
You're at the
skeletal
6,000 years
remains,
old.
if all these bones didn't go together so damn well, and they're just building things.
That's just Satan being sneaky. That's all that is.
Hey,
He's really good at
these motherfuckers ain't walking around now, so who could have put him here? It could have been some crazy guy.
It could have been fucking Gary Coleman, who turns out to be a time cop. And
What you talking about, Willis?
And plants dinosaurs to test our faith. I mean, I don't know.
What you talking about, everybody?
Feel bad for Willis in that equation.
Willis-
Seems it's always alleged that he's unclear in the things he's discussing.
Of course. Yo, you imagine in his real actual
It could
life.
be that he's actually very, appropriately clear when he's talking.
Would you imagine in your personal life, bro? Like when people
Just be
wanna
like,
talk
well
shit to
understood,
you?
Willis. Well understood, Willis. That would be a whole thing.
Well, when people want to talk shit to you, they go, "What you talking about, Willis?" And he's like a 40-year-old man. He's like, "Motherfucker!" Like that's his one thing. You don't say that to him. What you talking about, Willis?
Otherwise, like, you could be having having a talk in like the Bulgarian education system in the 1960s. Then all of a sudden, like, well, shut up, Willis, and then
There's 100 ways you could have versed that question. What the fuck is wrong with
Yes.
you? It's like,
Willis, how is the certain conditions that you live in? How are they affecting you right now in this time and place?
better. Not good. You know? It's like,
I don't know.
all right, Trevor. What do we got on the old
Yes.
agenda, man?
We already
Welcome to the
talked
podcast.
we're
folks.
talking
We're off the
peacocks
rails.
and we're
7:30. That's it. 7 minutes and 30
I
seconds.
didn't know you guys had rails.
Yeah.
I just listened and.
Well, we're the train spikers as well. We have a
Yeah.
ton of
Oh wait,
nicknames.
we gotta get to the news.
That's
Yes,
that's
we're
what I was
working
gonna.
on
That's
it.
what it is,
That's the
though.
first
Damn it.
thing.
We're working on
I'm
it.
Hold on,
realizing
Grady.
In
So I do.
Reality.
I do.
Yes.
I do write everything down in a notebook. Hopefully, you can read my handwriting.
Dude, that's actually really solid handwriting.
Very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank you.
I
So
mean, the pages look raggedy as shit. That's the part that conveys serious.
He doesn't
killer
keep his
vibes.
notebooks. He doesn't keep his notebooks well.
only
I
on,
actually love it. It's
only on Saturdays.
Trevor's notebooks have stories. He's like, you don't know the things we've been through.
Anyways, so actually we do intro and then we do news next. So first thing we introduce Grady.
Trevor news.
So local news. Actually, Gradient, would you like to add something to local news? Since you're there, very
Oh,
savvy
shit.
of the
He's local.
word on the
Oh,
street,
man,
the beat of
man,
the street.
Man, we got fucking recall elections going all over the place as a method of trying to get people out of office. And there's a
Even
recall
just
that
locally?
happened. Yeah, we had one locally that I'm saying is part of like
Like the city.
a larger movement. I would
Yes.
say.
No, it
I
is.
think-
It's
I mean,
definitely
everyone
a na-
wanted
it's a
Kate
national
Brown
movement.
to be recalled whenever since she was
Oh
elected.
yeah.
I think
People are
it's-
gonna do it for Tina.
When
Well, I
I
think
when I
it's
moved here,
hilarious.
I never heard so many people shit talk a governor. Mind you, I came from California, the land of Gray Davis and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jerry Brown twice, and I moved up here and like, fuck A. Brown, she's a cunt. Da, 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 da. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, I'm sure she's not great, but the amount of like,
If I ever see her in a grocery
Yeah,
store, that
I'm-
bitch is about to eat it, and it's like, what?
I'm gonna fucking throw her head in a fucking wood chipper. Like, what the fuck?
And it's like, I'm so passionate
Yeah.
about politics. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. Murder is the only
But
answer.
Most of the jobs
That's
I've
crazy because I love politics and I am almost like, as you guys know, don't even fucking want to like, because I go on podcasts sometimes as like a person who is like, hello, look at me,
Yeah,
like
of
let me
course.
share my opinions. And for
Yeah.
now, you just happen to ask me local news. There was a fucking recall election
Hand me the ashtray,
in town,
please.
and they filled the vacancy, and now the city
you.
council has 8 people on it again.
Yeah.
That's what I think of as being a bit of local news.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, other shit.
no, that's
Well,
good
I think
local
it's
news right
nuts
there.
that if okay, let's say you're playing a game, right, football or whatever. You know, you're playing a game with the people in the fucking community.
This is Jigsaw. Want to
Whatever.
play a game?
I loved Saw.
Yeah, Saul was
Yes.
pretty nuts.
Yes.
We go into it how Saul is just a fucking Home Alone. That's really a
We had an
bonfire
idea.
topic.
We had an idea.
really a bonfire
We had an idea of a white girl trap where it was Starbucks, and we get all these chicks who'd be like.
Ooh,
we'd
I
be
need a-
like
I
free
need a
Wi-Fi and
Frappuccino.
biscotti cookies, and they would fucking flock, and then they would be trapped.
Adele CDs.
Yes,
And shit.
Adele CDs.
I'm telling you, man.
Fucking-
muffins.
Dude, muffins and fucking Avril Lavigne, like all the things. Well,
Which is
maybe,
also funny because with Adele, I found that in my life, like black men love Adele. Fucking everybody gets weepy with Adele. So it's not just white girls. It's fucking.
Well, black men like Adele for different reasons, but Everybody likes a chubby white girl. Anyways,
Damn
you know,
bitch,
so
bend
like I
over.
was saying,
Sorry.
The
I was
most
saying.
opposite person of a white girl you could think of, still fucking with some, rumor has it, or some set fire.
Yeah, there's probably a guy that's beating off to that song. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Right,
Go back to your
okay.
story.
I just think it's nuts how these motherfuckers are basically playing a game in the community that they live in, and
That's
they
what
lost.
being
You know, they
counted.
lost the game. And so instead of saying, fuck it, I lost, I'll run again, like most politicians do,
Right.
they're like, nope, this is where we take our stand because we're losing in every other venue.
It's fucking the Goonies. Our time now.
Well, they
like,
have
bro.
nobody speaking in the fucking House right now. This is bouncing to national news.
Right.
The fucking Republicans keep trying to have a Speaker of the House vote, and the dude that he was supposed to be the incumbent or whatever,
Right.
he keeps getting downvoted, so
Yeah,
he doesn't
Kevin
have
McCarthy.
enough of the votes
Yeah,
to
from
fucking
California.
to take the seat. And the best part of this is this motherfucker moved his stuff into the office. Like when Nancy Pelosi left, he was like, "I'm moving all my
Guess
shit
he
in
assumed,
immediately."
like, oh,
yeah,
I'm
he's
in.
like, "Oh, they're all gonna back me," and half of them are like, "Yeah, I don't know, bro." And there's
I don't know
another
about this
guy
guy.
that keeps getting more votes than him, and they won't recognize him yet. Yeah, it's like
That's
ridiculous.
wild.
Well, when you talked about people that just deny elections and shit, I think
Yeah,
of
Trump,
Carrie
obviously.
Lake in Arizona. She ran for governor.
Yep.
I've
I'm
heard of
looking-
her.
I'm looking for her tweet right now, where she said it, but it's not about the election specifically, but it was basically some weirdo like shit about American exceptionals,
Of course.
and basically she was like, we should all remember how exceptional we are, and she said the blood of the founding fathers flows in our veins. She literally said that. I was like,
All of our veins.
right, all of us, all of
Every
us, all
single
the,
last
yeah, exactly.
Native American that's like, what the fuck?
So I just
So
yeah.
if you're Vietnamese, Nigerian, doesn't matter. If you move here,
But like
Yes.
you have to laugh to keep from
You didn't get that on your citizenship test?
No.
They didn't prick your finger and give you the
No.
blood of, no.
I know I'm a white guy, but I'm not English at all. Like I'm not.
Can you imagine
think
if that
of
was
all
the
the
thing?
Nazis though that read that shit, the neo-Nazis, and they're like,
Yep.
yeah, she said the blood
Blah,
of
blah,
the,
blah, blah,
like,
blah. Oh,
the,
yeah.
the Beyond Dog Whistling is just like so fucking creepy.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a fucking crazy Republican, and Joe Biden just agreed on something. They both said the Republicans are acting fucking stupid.
yeah.
So I was like, well, there we go. We're making some ground. You know,
well,
at
it's
least
because
people
she wants
realize.
to have committees
No,
again.
of course,
and,
of
and
course.
McCarthy said that he would give them to her.
Yo, this
Which
chick
of course
is
he would do that because
nuts.
she's like fucking. She does have a lot of that crazy energy. You know what I mean? Like
She has crazy
not,
white
not,
girl
not
energy.
a crazy amount of energy, like
Crazy
that
white girl energy.
So what you're
Whatever
saying-
ability white women have to fucking
So
argue
you're saying
a
she
point.
would be a fun lay? She would be a
No,
fun,
not at
wild
all.
night. No.
She's the chick that
do
ruins
you
your
think?
life before you fuck her, and then while you're fucking her, she reminds you how you're ruining your life. And then after you're done, she ruins your life, and you're like, "Ah, I should have never messed with this one."
That's why you have alcohol and weed, and you just forget about your mistakes.
I don't
and you
drink
move on.
anymore, asshole.
Well, then you just smoke a lot and listen to enough Bread albums, and you'll be fine.
Hey, man, we can't listen to that. People are gonna think we're gay.
No, we can't be in a circle unless it's red.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
That's a perfect time for me to get out ahead of some shit. When you're talking about fucking and someone being a good lay. Anybody who fucking stumbles upon this from my previous content, I am sorry for the fucking hard turn that they are experiencing. And not because I'm ashamed to be here, because I was talking to you guys earlier, a safe space for jokes, a safe space for comedy.
Yes, I.
The
both
If you
left,
agree
can't
with
the
do
that.
it
social
in your
justice
house,
left
man,
loves
I don't
talking about
know
safe
where
spaces
else.
because they are important.
Of course.
But you got to be able to have it, and podcasts generally are not fucking forced on other people.
No.
You know what
No,
I'm saying?
it's you
Yeah,
have
you
to go out of
choose
your
to
way
click.
to listen. Honestly,
You're right. It's not like.
If you turn on a podcast you don't want to hear, you turn it off immediately, right?
And
If someone's trapped in a car listening, and
Yeah.
they don't want to.
That'd be terrible.
sorry.
I'm sorry that you're trapped. We'll find
Worst
you.
first date
We're
ever.
on a search and rescue now, Trevor. Let's go. We're going to find this trapped snow burden person.
I met this nice man on Tinder.
Yeah.
He just wanted to take me on a 3-hour rural drive at night.
Oh,
a
don't
3-hour
do it.
tour.
Don't do it,
a
miss.
3-hour tour.
We're telling you right now, ladies, don't do it. He's weird.
By the way, Danny DeVito from Always Sunny is Frank Reynolds. He's your chaperone driver, and you're gonna be spurting blood. And he's gonna offer you an egg in these trying times. That's what's gonna happen.
I think that you're
a peacock egg.
I think you're
Yes.
completely right about that, though.
Dude, I feel like Peacock is gonna be might be the
ostrich
theme here.
egg. Ostrich and peacock.
Birds.
I listened to a
Birds.
few of your episodes.
Yeah.
There was no warning for me on how many hand pounds I would get from fucking Trevor.
I am telling you, it's an entire thing. I've had this conversation with him. I've had to limit his fist bumps per day.
Brady,
and
I'm
stuff.
sorry, like fist bumps.
I'm telling you, it's a real thing.
It's an addiction I have. I'm
Every
sorry.
time you do
Trevor
it, it's
loves
affirming a real thing.
He loves
They're not
positive
thrown willy-nilly.
affirmations. No,
I feel that they're
positive affirmations.
I probably earned not as many as you've given, but like
it's like a high five, man. It's the one thing that if you do it too much, it starts to lose its meaning. But if you do it at the right times, it's perfect every time.
Maybe it's
once we get this shit on video, like you guys are wanting me to help you with,
Yep.
that's gonna be hilarious. Like
Yep.
that's gonna keep
Yeah.
it up. And
No, of course.
you're not doing it for the camera because you've been
Nope.
doing it.
Yep, we're already
I
doing
won't
it.
even think about it.
We're living the dream, man. This started out a year ago, and now
Okay.
we're here
Little
68
less,
in.
little bit less here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we started in February, I think.
No, we started in May.
Something like
We
that.
started in May.
I started getting sober in February.
But in May we started. So yeah.
Fucking, I loved what you were saying though earlier about how people always want a safe space. Well, interestingly enough, the world isn't one giant safe space. There's a lot of danger in the world. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of worse things, I think, than bad words. Unfortunately, bad words do lead to some bad things. But it's not as bad as a motherfucker rolling up in your house with a bunch of guns and making you do all sorts of bad things. You know, so
We don't talk enough about badly made words.
yeah,
Like Wednesday.
terrible dictionaries.
Who made that word? That's worse than
What about Hoobastank?
Wednesday?
What about Hoobastank?
Wednesday is
Wednesday.
terrible. I agree.
Wednesday.
Worse than goof. I was we almost tried to call me the Asian tank.
Yes, no, of course,
Bring it
man,
up.
dude.
Yes, I
the
know that
Asian
I'm
tank.
fat. That's
No,
just-
not at all, bro. God damn it, man! You don't understand the solid power of a tank. They're built that
But
way for a reason.
I do agree. Wednesday is a terrible word. There are some words where I'm like, what the fuck? Like doe is spelled like D-O-E from a female deer, but if it's doe as in like for food it's D-O-U-G-H. Like
But
the
if it's
English
Homer
language,
Simpson,
it's weird.
D''O''H.
Some of the weird shit. I do feel sorry for people when they learn the English language because it makes no goddamn sense. Because we've melded so many languages and words that it.
What are
it's
you
a
telling me,
fucking
Trevor?
hodgepodge.
We built a country on stealing from everybody else, and then we called it our own.
Chris, we built this city. We
On
built this
rock
city
and
on
roll.
rock and roll. I'm sorry. That's how-
Detroit, bro. It's Detroit.
Detroit Rock
Dude,
City.
isn't
Let's
that
go.
Jefferson Starship, which is like
Yes.
an offshoot of airplane.
Yeah.
Yes, from the
Jefferson
60s, they
Starship.
did White Rabbit. They
Yep.
changed
They're
so
like,
radically.
They used to
Like,
tour a
every
lot
song
with,
by Jefferson Starship is like just-
Grateful Dead.
I would give
They
you
toured a
fist
lot
bump
with
if you
Grateful
called
Dead.
me on it. So now, I was doing like fist bump, but now,
I'm sorry. I
No.
didn't-
assholes.
Call him on it. Call him
Could've
on it
waited
because
longer.
if you don't, he'll continue to abuse the power.
I don't like being on fist bump timeout. I feel like a mad 5-year-old. I'm like, fuck all of you.
Well, Trevor, you can take your mad 5-year-old self and you can find out what's the next topic. Meh.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I gotta bring a soundboard in. That was a hardcore like air horn moment or something.
Yes.
At
No,
least.
and that's something else we're trying to work on. Sounds. We want sound effects.
And we
Yeah.
do silly sounds,
That
but
is something
A
I'd
mixing
love to help
board or
with.
something. You know, we can definitely look into that. Again, we're
Yeah,
trying
just
to
like
get
an
video.
iPhone even that has
Yes.
fucking.
we've been having to work. Sometimes we'll just randomly say weird shit.
And
But
then we're kind of focused on topic, comedy, and watching and stuff.
Sick.
But we need somebody to help us with the third party stuff.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, no, I
Sound
get that.
effects, maybe looking some shit up. You
Yes.
know, fucking banter,
Well,
banter and such.
The elephant
banter.
in the room is that
Mhm.
it's like a Jamie thing, right? Like
Jamie.
JRE, right? Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh.
His guy is Jamie, and he's always
I
like,
don't
"Young
know.
Jamie."
I can't stand Joe Rogan,
There you
bro.
go. Well, then
He's
it's not
one
an
of
elephant in the
those.
room because only I was the one who
Dude, he's
knows
a
about it.
weird
So-
guy.
so
He's a
Joe-
weird guy. He's cool. Very
Joe,
cool dude.
Joe Rogan's a
Weird
cool guy. He's an elk hunter. He's trained in martial arts. He's really good at taekwondo. Like I respect that. He's done some badass
did
shit.
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor
Yes.
was
That's
from,
how
I'm
I remember
29.
it.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
32.
I'm
Right.
32.
Fear Factor.
Yeah.
I remember him doing UFC commentating in the early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah.
Did you
But-
see Joe Rogan fight on Fear Factor?
Yes.
clip? Yeah, the video?
Yes.
So there was a guy that was getting out of line on Fear Factor, and Joe Rogan was, he's a younger
He's
guy.
trying to be reasonable, though.
And he was being very nice.
was like,
But
"Hey,
the guy was
man."
being ridiculous, and eventually it's just him and Joe Rogan fighting, and it's like videotaped for like 45 seconds. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, because
Nice.
you don't get to see Joe Rogan fight that much.
Joe
You
Rogan
get to see him
fights a lot.
train.
No,
You get to see
you
him
don't.
train him.
But like Joe
Well, it's
Rogan
funny.
is one of the
But I
hardest
wouldn't-
recorded kicks. Like
Yeah.
when he kicks, it
I
sounds
wouldn't-
literally like a gunshot.
Well, I
Sounds
wouldn't
like a
take
gun
a
going off.
swipe at him, Like,
No.
I wouldn't do my
He's a
crazy...
badass little
You
old man.
guys are fucking on his fucking nuts way more than I expected.
Yeah, man.
You to
We
be
fire.
when I first brought him up.
We fire.
He switched up mad fast.
Yeah, he's a funny dude in the sense that, like, if you were on his
get a
podcast,
fist
you'd
bump
probably
for that.
have a great story to tell.
Hell yeah! I remember there was a little bit of a time in there where I could tell some weird, like, not like, like the Elon stands. There's also like some like Rogan-y Stan-y stuff. I feel like it's not as in fashion, but like let's say 3 or 4 years ago, a lot of people were like, people just need to have the debate, bro. Be willing to engage with like there's certain like people that were like, he's actually just like so open minded and like
Sure.
He's the most amazing.
Joe Rogan does nothing but say, okay.
Yeah.
And he says, that's cool.
Or he'll go,
and he goes, huh.
Yeah.
Or he does this one. He goes, damn, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's another one he does a lot of.
Like, he'll
Mine
do-
is people suck. That's what I say a lot of.
He'll
I
do
say
a good
people
job
suck.
when he analyzes like a fight, like he's doing a dart stroke or that. But you're right, when he's just talking, he'll just agree and
He's
then
very
keep
basic.
the person to just keep going.
I feel like in like 2006 or 7, I see a video going viral once in a while, like Joe Rogan explains the world and how psychedelics are and monkeys are, and I'm
Yes.
just there was
Yeah.
some weird like, wow, he's so amazing, and he's
Joe
this
Rogan
guy's
found a niche community in the podcasting community, and he got very famous because of his platform, which was MMA, slight comedy, and the fact that people knew him for fucking Fear
And
Factor.
he managed to get really good guests, which is
And
his
biggest
cool. He has
thing
guests
is he
that are
has a
experts.
pool from his phone.
Yes.
That motherfucker's got people on speed
Yeah,
dial.
he is-
Just be
he
like,
is-
I want to get a hold of so and so. Yeah,
He has experts anywhere from astrology to fucking woodworking, like any subject you think
Duncan
of.
Trussell, fucking
Yeah, he knows-
Neil deGrasse
yeah.
Tyson. This motherfucker calls up
Yeah.
anybody he wants.
From Neil
and
deGrasse
gets them on
Tyson
there.
to George St. Pierre, he can just make a
Fucking
phone
Bill
call on the
Nye.
show.
He gets scientists. He
Yeah.
gets fucking cartel members.
Actually, I've been enjoying Bill Maher's podcast, Club Random.
He's
And I
interesting.
feel like one overlap is they both will get like
Bill Maher is
80s rock
interesting.
stars that no one wants to talk to
Yeah,
anymore.
because
and
he's
they'll
old
talk to them
school.
for hours.
He's old school.
Exactly.
It's
So, like,
funny with
fucking-
Bill Maher because he was very niche for his time, where he was like, I'm an edgy comic and blah 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 blah. I say the things that you wish you could say, blah
And
blah
then
blah blah.
times
And now
move
time,
on.
like rock, it just doesn't age well, man. You
Yeah.
can't be an edgy comic forever. Like George Carlin was one of the very few fucking, he did it forever and it worked.
Well, I mean, it's George Carlin. Like,
He's
I'm
George
I'm sure,
motherfucking
like you,
Carlin.
like we all grew up loving like George Carlin and certain comics. So you're like, what the fuck? But
The problem is if we show love to people by giving them our time and attention, I feel like we just did 5 minutes on Rogan.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna do like 20 seconds on Carlin.
we can move on.
Very
That's
interesting.
sad because
Okay.
Carlin
Very
deserves better.
interesting.
But we're not gonna like.
But we
do
didn't
this
start
tangent
on
more.
George
have
Carlin.
news.
We ended up on.
All right, I'll give you.
That's true.
Let me
Yeah, we
throw it.
started it
Let me
and
throw the George
ended up
Carlin
there.
quote that I like.
Okay.
So
it.
never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups.
Yeah, it's
George
very-
Carlin. I
Rage.
grew up definitely watching stand up of George Carlin, like when he talks about there being too many people or the issues of religion. Yeah, he was definitely ahead of his time. So Joe Rogan,
And
not as cool as George Carlin. Sorry.
he got a
Deal with
payday
it.
though. That motherfucker did get a payday. 150 million.
From Spotify.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Stupid
only
money.
other person I can think of getting
That's Dave
getting
Chappelle money.
I think it was even maybe more. Than
I know.
150.
The only
dude,
person
that
I
was
think
like
of
the
getting
boss.
that pay
That was
is
like
like
the base.
Howard Stern when he re-signed back in the
Yes,
day. When
with
Howard
Sirius.
Stern, it was at the time it was one of the biggest re-signings.
Well,
Even
when
I heard about
he
it.
when he got re-signed, he didn't want to go with his company because they weren't offering him, and that's when he eventually ended up at Sirius.
And it was when the whole
Well, then he
internet
can say
thing.
fuck and stuff
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Again,
again.
You be edgy.
Yeah.
I remember riding.
Actually, the times that I've listened to full Howard Stern interviews and episodes has been when he's had ICP on. He used to have ICP
Whoop,
on
whatever.
actually often. And
Have
What
you
up,
seen
Ninja?
their movies?
They're funny.
ICP movies?
Yes.
Oh,
We've
Big-
seen
big-
both of them.
Big money hustlers
yes.
and rustlers?
Yes.
No! You deserve 2 fist bumps right now, but I'm on timeout.
I'll
But
give you one.
Boom.
We actually did movie reviews on both of those.
Okay.
We
Me and
did.
my buddy,
I'm gonna
you
say
guys
this.
definitely remember this character from Restless because he was so annoying.
I'm the foot, bitch.
I'm the
We have
foot.
an episode about that.
We did a whole
have an
episode where we talked
on
about
that.
it. We
I'm the foot, bitch.
We did Bigfoot Rustlers for movie review first week. The next week, and
awesome.
Big Money Hustlers
So awesome.
the next week.
I got a George Carlin
funny.
quote real quick.
Oh, yeah.
George Carlin.
Glenn Danzig
One more.
is in Hustlers for no reason. Misfits are in it.
Fuck. One more George Carlin quote, and then we're back on track. Fucking.
Stop being so funny.
Yeah. The American Dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Right.
It's a good one.
That
Who
is a
said
good
that?
one. George Carlin.
Oh, that's right.
Carlin, bro.
Sorry, that is a good quote.
All right, back on news.
Okay, so I can do a real quick one on World War. Talk about Russian soldiers using cell phones to track soldiers.
Of course,
and
man.
kill-
Through the technology of today, man,
of
you
course-
can't not know where the enemy is.
Yeah.
Especially if they're texting people. You know, they're using their cell phones to call people and you know, organize stuff, call the family home. So when you see that light up, you're going to say, there's a patch of them right there. I'm sending some missiles that way. Yeah.
There you go.
Very simple.
Right.
But
This guy knows more about war than the generals do.
it's funny.
A lot of the generals are just old and delusional, and those are guys that also were like
Well, I bet they
in
have
KGB with Putin back in the 70s and 80s. It's like, bro, it's the Cold War's over. Like, give it up.
Well, I
The
bet
Soviet
they
Union
have-
died in '91. Like,
I
let it
bet
die.
they have that
They're
conversation.
still like, the Japs.
Well, it kind of almost reminds me of like the German sentiment and Austrian sentiment, where after World War One, they definitely did get the shaft with the Treaty of Versailles, and they're having to pay all
He's
this
a
stuff.
bad mother. Shut your mouth.
And it
I'm just
definitely-
talking about Russia.
When you're just completely blamed for a giant world war, I could definitely see where it made a lot of people an economy that suddenly got ruined very bitter. And then when this very, inspirational guy from Austria that was in the war, and he's got this funky little
Weird
mustache, and he's very excited when he talks.
He's very cool.
There's a lot of
You ever
disaffected
seen him
people that can
live?
be like, oh, this is the fucking guy. And Putin maybe isn't at that level, but Putin is definitely trying to rekindle an older
a
flame,
His
something
Cold
that
War
died.
flame.
Yeah, and
It's
trying
like
to
we did not lose. We went colder, so cold that we almost lost. But now it's time.
We went sub-zero. So, yeah.
He just doesn't have another gambit, bro. He's an old guy, and he just wants to
He
take
wants to
over
go
a
out,
country, but it just
yeah.
doesn't work that way anymore.
trying to go out with a bang.
he's fighting a losing battle at this point, but
He's notorious now. Like, he'll be in history now. Like, what he did.
And
he
that's-
will definitely
that's what
be
he
studied.
wanted. That's what he wanted.
In 100 years, like, kids will be reading about Putin.
yeah,
100%.
but for all the wrong
Will he, though?
reasons.
I mean, like, he will, and that's definitely true in history. I don't want to minimize that, but aren't we all a little bit more and more part of history now? Like, this podcast is part of history. It's true.
course.
Obviously, the significance of him will be studied and blah, blah, but we don't know what's going to be on the mind of kids in 2100, 2200, 2500.
Yeah.
They might give no shits
Very
about
possible.
our era, because we don't know shit about things from 200,
Nope.
300 years ago.
No.
And
Humans give up on fucking learning shit after they
We
think
def-
they've learned it all.
we definitely have a goldfish memory when it comes to, like, oh, this isn't in my realm. I'm going to ignore it. Like, I've even met kids who are like, like, who's Jimi
you
Hendrix?
don't belong in this realm.
Yeah,
Get
so
out of
we
this
definitely
realm.
have the gold.
Nirvana, classic rock.
Yeah.
That's classic rock now, which is crazy because I remember hearing it in the 90s when it was like he had just died. It was more recent.
Hitting you with those classical rock hits of the 90s.
Yeah, when I
Here's
heard Nirvana-
Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That made me feel old being a 32-year-old man.
I
Like,
think Lane
fuck.
Stanley died a few years ago,
When,
right?
when like Korn and Rage Against the Machine makes classic rock, like I will feel old.
You know
I'll
what
be
makes
like,
me feel
fuck,
really
dude.
old? The Beastie Boys. The Beastie
Yes.
Boys remind me how old I am all the time.
Yeah,
And they
Beastie
weren't big
Boys.
when I was a kid, but now that I listen to them,
Now
I'm
they're-
like, they're 60-something.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah,
guys
they
just
look-
died
They
too.
looking old as fuck on stage for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys.
But I do like how they
man.
went from punk to hip hop.
I don't like
Being-
feeling old,
I think
man. Let's move on.
The latest song in their career that is like kind of as good as a lot of their early shit is check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out is like the last hit that I think kind of belongs
from
in
the
that
Five
category.
Boroughs album.
What you want,
Yes.
man? What
There's
you
another
want's
one.
another good
the
one.
Hot Sauce Committee was gonna be a thing, and they had too many rappers with Nas,
Yep.
which was an okay cut.
Yep.
But check it out is the only one that can live up to
Nas, shout out.
Football's
He's probably
boutique
one of the
that
best
License to
rappers
Ill.
ever.
Oh yeah.
I love Nas,
New
man.
York State of Mind. That's what introduced me to Nas.
Well, when
actually,
everybody
New York
was
State
like,
of Mind. I
"Who are
like,
you
what the
with,
fuck?
Jay-Z or Nas?" I'm like, obviously the dude that raps better, and
Nas.
they're like, well, Jay-Z's got a bigger following, and it's like, I guess
I would go with Nas, and I'm as you probably figured out. I'm more of a metalhead myself, punk rockers in the scene for a long time, but.
That's exciting because I'll learn more from you.
Yep.
So if you teach me a lot of hip hop,
definitely wanting to learn hip-hop
I can teach you a lot of metal and punk rock because I've been in the scene and all the underground shit that the average Joe.
Trevor had a jacket.
I had a jacket, but I gave it to a younger punk rock guy who's like, "Hey, you're too old and fat for the jacket now, Trevor. Give it to me." And I can show you a picture. As he saw it, like I had 17 years in there. Like I had been in fights in the jacket. I had fucked in that jacket. Like I had done some serious life shit in that jacket.
But it was time
I
to pass
inherited
it on
to
to the next
generation. That's
next
what I literally did.
rockers.
Before we get too far past Nas, I was thinking of
Yes.
a way to cut in with the quickest like version of the fun thing that happened to me with Nas.
Sure.
I was at a Nas concert. A few songs in, my phone was stolen out of my pocket.
Oh, no.
And I was not bummed. That's how good the Nas concert was.
Of course, man. You just
Kept
move on.
Kept going, and
Yeah.
I knew that phone was not gonna be in my pocket anymore.
But
at the end, a bunch of people, there were phone cases left on the ground.
Of course.
Outdoor dirty ass show.
Yep.
And
take a look around.
a bunch of other people had their phones stolen,
Yep.
and then
Great place to steal as a crowded show.
Yeah.
You know, but you think of it like this: in the grand scheme of things, what's it, a $200 phone, something like that, hopefully. But you're at a fucking amazing show that you may never be at again, and you're getting to see a great group or a great fucking performance. So fuck that phone, man. Fuck that fucking phone.
Well, but that's the power of those awesome
shows,
peak experiences
Yes,
in life, those live
of course.
music moments.
They
because you
grab
realize
you.
how stupid a phone is in that moment.
You're just like, why
When
did I
most
need
days
it?
your phone is your most important thing, for me anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's when you're having a real moment, that's when the true you comes out. Right. Like you put all that, ego and fucking this is who I think I am type of shit behind you. You're like, this is a moment for me right now out of every moment in the world, and I love this at shows because a lot of people feel like that at that moment. It's like, this is amazing. But it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
You guys have probably never been to an event with Yonder bags. Yonder is like a company,
What
so
is
it's
that?
YONDR.
I've heard of them.
But it's those.
I haven't.
You put your phone in a bag.
Yes. So
you can't take your phone out of the
yes,
bag,
they
but
lock
you
them
keep
up.
it on you so that
Yeah.
you're not worried about your phone is with someone
So
else.
what is
Yep.
just
All
to
it
keep
does
you from
is
using?
you turn your phone off, and it
Yeah.
keeps you from using it. That's literally
Yeah.
it. And you can't
They
open
use
it
them
up.
at Dave Chappelle shows because he doesn't
Comedy
want
shows.
his stuff recorded
Oh,
and put out
right.
immediately.
I should have heard of like the
Yes.
white
Jack White.
the
Yes,
white stripes. I was about to
exactly.
say that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly right. So I shouldn't have used
Yeah.
the stupid corporate name. I should just
No,
be like,
and-
you just know those bags they put your phone.
That
Well,
Jack White would be like, okay.
When
Yeah.
you did
Yeah.
say Yonder Bags, it made me think of Dave Chappelle because on the podcast I listen to a lot. They're comedians that talk about comedians, and they
Nice.
were like how Dave Chappelle puts all of his phones in bags because he doesn't want his stuff out there instantly. That's the problem
he's
with
working it
media
out.
is like, you're working out jokes as a comedian, and if you
Or he
have
wants his special to have a good release.
Yeah, exactly. So like having that power is pretty interesting because the company makes money. The people usually enjoy it more because they're not fucking with their phones constantly.
In mass,
So,
I'm sure it actually
yes.
is better.
Yes.
Even though individuals
Put the phones
are probably
away,
like,
people. Put the phones away unless you're listening to the Two Lonely Boys podcast. Now turn it up. Trevor, let's get on it, man. We have been sidetracked.
It's been hilarious
I'm
though.
sorry.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
2 weeks ago. Sorry. Anyways,
Chuck it the Chinese chicken.
Street
I like
Sharks.
the Weird Al version. Jerry Springer.
Yes.
So we're talking about real quick. Do you remember the show Street Sharks
No.
from the '90s, from '95?
This would be good.
Sorry,
then.
I was 2.
Yes.
Well, 95.
Yes.
I never caught up with
95.
it later. And
Yeah, Street Sharks. So it was
I remember Street Smarts, which was a cool
interesting.
game show.
So it was a cartoon show that came out in '95 that was pretty much riding the wave of no pun intended, Street Sharks wave. But anyways, riding the wave of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There were a lot of shows in the '90s. There was a slew of shows where like you had like
split off.
kids that had some mutant shit happen to them, and they had these crazy abilities. I mean, now it's commonplace with superheroes, but in the
Spider-Man
'90s,
and-
specifically, it was animals. Like there was another show where like kids had like Animorphs. Animorphs
Yes.
was another one.
Yes.
Oh, I know that was books, wasn't it too?
Yeah, it was
a
books.
book series.
It was
You're
book
correct.
series.
Because
But it was- But at the time, there was a whole
I
fucking
love
trend
the book
of
fair.
Oh man.
I want a $7 pencil.
Scholastic can get it.
I'm just waiting for like
I don't know what that
Scholastic.
means.
If Scholastic was
Scholastic.
a woman.
It's a hot person.
I remember one time at a Scholastic book fair, they gave away free fucking Captain Underpants books. I was so goddamn excited. As a kid to like get like a free Captain Underpants book with a fliporama. When you're like a young boy and you have like a cartoon where this dude in underwear runs around and fights like crazy robots and toilets.
fought
It's
adults.
amazing when
He
you're
fought
like a young
adults.
boy. Like it's the best thing ever.
So Street Sharks was a show that rode off of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but what ended up happening was they had a spin on their own thing where the sharks were teenagers that basically were getting science experimented
Yes.
on by their fucking crazy
That had worked-
scientists
that had worked with their
that
father.
worked with their dad.
Yeah.
So the scientist kidnaps the father. The kids get turned into sharks.
They're given this magic serum.
Basically, they are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but shark. And
And they're able to burst through concrete.
they eat concrete. That's
can
the
literally-
best ability in the world.
They're
They
these
eat
giant,
through concrete
like
and they swim
humanoid.
under.
They're these giant humanoid sharks with arms and legs.
They're
They can-
fucking built. They've been
Yeah.
in the gym sharking it up.
Yeah, they look like fucking Ronnie Coleman from fucking The Bodybuilder or some shit.
They look
or
out-
look like World's Strongest Man, like half Thor, like just and they can just rip through concrete.
Yep.
But
And-
you hear them talking like, "What's up, bro?" And they fucking
There's a
eat
lot of
20
shark
hamburgers
puns.
all the time.
There's
and
a,
it's that
there's a lot of
SoCal
shark
surf
puns.
talk.
It's like
Endless.
What the fin you talking about?
Yeah, what
you
the
know?
fin you talking about? Man, after we do all this crazy shit, we definitely have a great tale to say. And then they like wave. One of the guys waves his tail above his legs. And you're like,
I just
"Oh."
love
I think one of the only
classic
good,
cartoons.
Oh yeah, dude, hell yeah! One of the only good TV show censorship replacement F words to me. One of the only times it's been used effectively is in The Good Place. You watch that show?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, there's a whole bit about how they're supposedly like in heaven, and you can't say fuck. So
Nah.
this is always said, but it's I won't
That's
make
not
it funny.
heaven.
My
That's not
iteration of
heaven.
it won't make it funny, but they every time she tries to say fuck, it comes out as fork, and it just ends up being actually being,
course.
it works as a bit.
Yeah, no, it sounds
it's
funny
not a
because you
classic
imagine
cartoon.
trying to curse and the frustration from not being able to curse.
Well, can I spoil The Good Place for you guys?
Do it.
Fucking the good thing about this show.
It's a good place to spoil
Skip
it.
forward 30 seconds. People who don't want The Good Place spoiled is now I got to keep it within 30 seconds. Fuck, we can't be talking about it 31 seconds beyond what I said.
Do
This
it.
is my brain, you guys. It's simply that they all think that they died and went to their version of heaven, and it seems super well catered to them. Turns out actually that they're kind of like in hell instead.
Sure.
And you realize all the ways that they were. Oh yeah, this all went really shitty because it was actually designed to as a plan for the new way that the universe would and God would punish people.
No, of course, man. You got to find a way to punish those people. You guys have been bad. We know you fucking people out there. You're doing a bunch of bad things. We're going to catch you. We're coming for you, time cop style.
And we're coming everywhere, all over the place.
There was a movie. Did you guys see that sci-fi Justin Timberlake movie about time? It's called like In Time.
It's called In Sync, man. He was in a group, and then they took all of his money.
No, I do remember though when that came out, but I never saw it. But he was literally like a time cop. He was literally a time cop. That's what he did. He went around time and
Bruce
like,
Willis is a time cop in another movie. He shoots people. That's a whole theme.
Well-
He shoots people for gold bricks.
Justin Timberlake's trying to do like a sweet dance move and talk to some lady, versus Bruce Willis is just gonna be like,
I can't
"Bang."
take Justin Timberlake serious because I saw him in that movie Alpha Dog. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a movie
What is
about
it?
murdering a child. It's a movie
What?
about a bunch of kids
Really?
that, yeah.
Really?
Well, it's a movie
very
about a
wild.
bunch of kids
I'd rather
that,
watch Reservoir Dogs.
yeah.
Oh,
That'd
that's
be
a
cool.
great movie.
But Alpha Dog's
seen it.
about, here, we can do this for the movie review. Alpha Dog is about a kid that is selling drugs in Cali, and he's a small-time weed and coke dealer. And he gets it in his head one day that he's tougher than he is, and basically a kid owed him money for drugs, and he wasn't going to pay him, so he found his brother walking home one day, and they kidnapped the kid. They, like, took him. So what they did with him was they treated him like he was a homie, like they hung out with him, they brought pussy around him, they gave him beers and stuff. And then at a point when they realized, I guess, that it was all going to shit, the cops realized the kid was missing and, they were looking for him.
Right.
They were like, well, we got to kill this kid. And everybody was kind of like, I don't want to do it. This kid didn't really do anything to us. It's his brother we're after, blah, blah, blah. But the main dude, the one that was owed the money, was like, if you guys don't do it, I'll do it. And he was the one kind of calling the shots. So they were like, Okay. And they took this kid up to a mountain somewhere. It's a hiking trail. And they fucking shot him to death with a gun. You know?
Jesus.
And then they buried him in a shallow grave. And then a couple days go by. I think they find the body. A day goes by. The hikers found him like the next day.
Damn.
They did a terrible job hiding him. Fucking. So the heat's all coming down. They catch everybody that was involved except for the main guy who fled to Peru. He fucking got out of the country before.
Damn.
He did a weird thing where he had a buddy drive him to Canada and then drive him back down to Mexico. Literally drove the whole country twice.
Damn.
Got to South America and held out there for, I think it was like 7 or 8 years. The FBI finally caught up to him, brought him here. He faced charges for murder. I think he ended up getting like 30 years, something like that.
Damn.
But yeah, it was a crazy story about how, people are fickle and they'll fucking kill you over nothing, man. Yeah, I think it was like $1,500.
Is this a true story, man?
True story. It drove the
Damn.
mother insane. They actually did interviews with her inside an insane asylum.
The mother of the guy that committed it, or?
The mother of the guy that's son got killed.
Ah.
She went insane after her son died.
Damn.
Yep,
First time
drove
I
her
ever heard the
nuts.
phrase "shallow grave" was on a podcast.
Very interesting.
Yeah, but it was the Serial podcast, the biggest one ever for a while.
Yeah.
You ever heard of that one? It was
No.
like a public radio, like NPR-ish.
Was it like?
I've listened to NPR.
Was there a lot of
I've listened to
post commercials and a lot of Captain Crunch themes? No. Yeah, it's cereal.
Oh, funny.
Ah.
Yeah, I used to live in the town
Trevor
where the
just
Malto
got it.
Meal
No,
Factory
it was good. It was good.
Malto Meal Factory turned into the Post Factory in Northfield, Minnesota, where I live.
We got a bunch of sugar factories in Florida, man.
told you
and
I-
it smelled terrible.
I used to drive by that place every day because I was 5 miles outside of Northfield, between Northfield and Millersburg out there.
Oh, yeah.
And Faribault. I'm sure you've heard of Faribault.
Yeah. Faribault. Yeah.
Yeah, Faribault.
They've got a Thai restaurant there. And
Yes. I've been to
Trevor's
that
like,
place.
yes, I was there once.
like one of the
Have you
only
been to the
things-
Hy-Vee place out there? The Hy-Vee grocery
Just for
store.
you folks out there, they're
Maybe.
talking about
I went
Cali.
to a bar there once.
Shout out
too,
Minnesota.
but Other than that,
Oh, Minnesota.
So I'm sure you've heard of like the Cannon River. And,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. This guy knows.
Cannon.
Peed in
I've
it.
cannonballed in that river.
I'm sure. Well, actually, I did. Yeah.
So
Trevor's so happy.
I am
realized
so excited
there's-
right
there's
now.
It's
urban
like,
part
this
of
guy
North-
knows my shit.
There's an urban part of Northfield where I never would have peed because that's public indecency. But you go down the way a little bit, I realized we used to puff joints there with the homies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I pissed in that river. I just know it.
when I
At
was
least
Your
near
DNA will be found
At least near it,
inside
which
of
is
a
in it,
fish.
when I was a kid, we'd go on the Cannon River, and there was a spot my grandpa would take me fishing, and we were a little bit outside of town, but we would go in, and there was a spot like just outside Northfield on the Cannon River. I remember learning about catfish are big there. The huge thing is catfish. I remember they had
And
bullhead
we're not
catfish.
talking about women that don't look good trying to get you to come over to the house.
I already dealt with that.
I think of men more than that for catfishing.
Trevor
right.
just had a cat.
Just had that happen to me.
Where
But
it's
anyways.
was it a genuine photo of her or not?
It was a filter.
It was just like
photo.
It was a
filter
filter.
to
That's the new
See,
catfish
and
game.
there was
That's
a-
the game
there-
they're
turn
playing
it up.
at, man. We're all playing the game.
There was
you know?
another picture too that
Reality-
a little bit.
reality's
and the filters
mean.
and the not. Why would you?
Reality's
in
harsh.
a situation like that where you're seeking the best partner you could find. Why would you not? Why would you not put?
Because
yourself in
Trevor
the
had
most-
hopes and dreams.
I had
damn
hopes
it.
and dreams.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, Grady, and I
get
had
it.
these things.
No, it's hilarious because when you meet a girl and you start talking to them and you get into the little talk and shit and you're like, oh, this is kind of working out,
Yeah.
and then you get to meet them and you're like, you look nothing like what I thought you did.
Yeah.
Like that's such a
That is what happened.
and
to
I
me
think it goes
hard.
back to the ego of a human being is like we all have those moments where we've met a person and we're just like, ah, fuck.
Well, what
But,
do you guys
you know-
think about? What do you guys think about this? This is something I thought about once in a while. Is fucking the instinct to have a partner that is attractive to you makes a lot of sense. The instinct that is also part of our culture sometimes is to have a partner that is attractive to other people. As a
Sometimes.
status, as
Sometimes.
somewhat of a status.
I think
thing or
it
something,
depends on how you view
which
your
is so
partner.
subjective.
Well, it depends on how you view
Very
things.
I think,
subjective, yeah.
Because I've always wanted a chick that is like well-rounded and can do shit. I think that a chick that works hard is hot, but
Yeah,
that's a hard thing to find sometimes because most women that work hard are fucking at work or something. Yeah. But
It was
yeah,
deep in thought. It was deep in thought.
We're stoned, folks. It's going great. If Trevor would pass me the sheet, we'll talk about some topics, bro.
I'll talk about some.
Trevor's having a great time. Trevor is always the lead.
I'm usually the lead, and you've heard I'm always the one leading.
Got it.
Stop being
Chris
so cool.
Which is funny because to me, it feels more to me like he's the play-by-play, Chris is, and you're the color man.
Not usually. Not usually. Usually.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes though
I think he's got an audience right now and he's excited.
I usually write all the stuff down. I'm usually the one that pulls us through the. If you listen to our episodes, I'm usually the one that pulls us through.
Yeah.
Right.
So you caught me in an off time.
Trevor,
stop being so damn cool.
The podcast is going great.
Al Michaels,
exactly, man. He wants to be Tom Petty and Tom Brady.
Or wait, can we just be the Trembling Wilburys?
No, we got to be Chicago.
I want to be Roy Orbison if that's the case.
No, we're gonna be in Chicago, man. 9 to 5, man. All right, Chris's Cannabis Corner. We just had harvest yesterday, so 6 plants came down. We got the mom rolling. She needs to get cloned here in the next couple weeks, but I'm gonna wait on the plants to dry. My last harvest, I rushed drying and in the wrong temperature, pretty much. And what I ended up getting from that was some decent weed, but it did have a little bit of a hay smell. And one of the things to prevent that hay smell that a lot of people run into and they don't like, because it is the greenness of the weed, honestly, is curing and keeping in a proper temperatured room. If your weed is kept well, it'll cure properly. But if you don't keep it well and you don't dry it properly and then you go to fucking smoke it and it doesn't taste quite right, it's probably because you fucked up in the cure along the way. The plant is great up until the point that you cut it down. From that point, it is degrading from every moment that it's dead, you know. But you have to spend the time learning how to fuck with it, and last run was another learning curve. But again, like I said, we've doubled our yield every single time, and now the problem is not yield, it's more of space. So we're gonna work going vertical the next harvest, and I'm gonna veg the plants a little bit longer so that they have more nodes and more stems to grow bigger buds on.
I got an on-topic question for you.
Sure, do it.
You talked about how the quality of the plant is degrading as soon as it's cut off.
Yep.
It's dying.
You ever smoke weed that's still on the vine?
So if
find
you
a way
try
to
to
like
do that,
fucking smoke
if
weed
you
that
try to
literally
do that,
hasn't been cut off.
Oh yeah, I've done everything pretty much you can with cannabis.
Right.
I'm sure somebody's done it.
Yeah, 100%. So the biggest problem when you try to smoke wet weed is that the trichomes haven't gone into their effective phase yet. Trichome degradation is a thing that needs to happen through oxidation. So it needs to be exposed to air so that it crystallines, it turns into a
crystallizes,
And then from that point on, the tip of the trichome is where you're getting the THC, CBD, all that stuff. Terpenes are more of the flavor of the weed that is based in it. But if you try to smoke wet weed, what you'll do is probably give yourself a nice headache. You might get high. I'm not saying that, if you don't smoke enough of something, you won't feel something. But it's not the quality high that you're looking for. And that's the problem, is that if you've ever smoked really bad weed, you know immediately once you started smoking it that you made that mistake. You're like, this isn't quite right, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's kind of like, dating a chick you knew was bad for you.
I see.
If you wait around for the good girl, she'll come around. But if you just run around with any chick that's, just right there at the moment, you might have a tougher time. But, that's Chris's Cannabis Corner. I think the harvest will come out good. They got a week and a half. We'll check on them and make sure they're doing good. Album review. Trevor listened to a weed album, a 420 mix that I fucking recommended.
I had heard with him before.
That we've listened to.
And we were playing it last night when we did Harvest.
Of course, you got to listen to weed music while you do Harvest.
But in the past, we've definitely listened to it before too, and I've heard it. Like, these are rappers I definitely grew up hearing.
The album is weed themed, and it's all got rappers that have weed related songs.
I'll say the name of it. So I'll also put it in the post, but it's officially hip hop's best weed songs, 420 smokers mix from 90s rap classics to 2010 stoner hits. It's 56 minutes and 30 seconds long, and you have a wide range from anywhere from
Wiz Khalifa,
Snoop Dogg, Cypress Hill, Kendrick Lamar's on there, Method Man. You have a whole
tons of good rap.
Yeah.
I wonder which Kendrick song they chose. I can't think of me. I know
Money Trees. Probably Money
Probably
Trees.
it could be Money Trees.
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely a stoner classic.
Of course, man.
Yeah,
And that was the best part about working at the farm
yeah,
is that everybody
Yes.
played stoner music. So it was a constant, like
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix, you were getting fucking Cypress Hill, you were getting fucking, they'd play
Right.
Cheech and Chong sometimes, Cheech and Chong
Right.
songs, yeah. It's always fun.
I'm glad that I always fucking loved stoner culture well before I smoked weed.
Sure,
You know, I didn't smoke weed until I was almost 19. I think maybe it might have been 19
sure.
because I was out of high school. And,
Yeah, trying things out.
So the
Brand new.
so the song I'm going to pick, because I always pick a specific song. For me, Hits from the Bong, because Cypress Hill, I love all these guys, but Cypress Hill I definitely
Classic.
heard a lot of. And when I was
Classic.
actually in a black metal band here in town, Lavalock, they broke up. But before we would play black metal and like, I don't know if you heard black metal like Behemoth and that, but
Is death black metal?
I
Kind of.
Is
I-
Ghost black metal? I don't think they are.
Nah, well,
I'm sure I've heard of
Ghost
some on
is heavier
Wikipedia.
metal. They're kind of like
Thomas-
Slipknot, sort
We'll
of.
have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Trevor is such
We'll have a
a
conversation.
metal geek
Okay.
that when somebody doesn't know a lot, he's like,
Okay, well,
Now I've
well,
got
let me
it.
say-
I will
let
teach
me
you.
say,
I will
you know,
teach-
I know a
just
little
like
bit. I could name a few new wave of British heavy metal bands that are classic. I know about things like folk metal. I like Corpus
Yes.
Kalani.
okay.
I know about
Look
some,
at his
I know about
face.
some,
I'll get a high
symphonic
five.
power metal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
I've
my
heard it.
God.
So I know the feelings in general, and I know thrash, obviously the big four of thrash. But when it comes to black metal,
You're being very modest.
I haven't known that much about that.
So, I'll make it. But by the way, the song Hits from the Bong. But when I was in the black metal band, we would always smoke weed and we'd listen to Cypress Hill, and then we'd go and we'd play this black metal, which is very fast, loud tremolo picking,
Yeah.
a lot of high register screams. So very much opposite of Cypress Hill. But we were all stoners that had grown up listening to Cypress Hill, so we would always like take hits from the bong as we're listening to that, and then we'd go play a bunch of crazy black metal. But and it's just a tradition. It became a tradition we did every time, and I always look forward to it. I don't know, something about listening to Cypress Hill and smoking weed just made me want to. It worked. It fucking worked somehow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's just the
great.
stoner in all of us. But I guess the briefest analogy is
Trevor's like, let me calm down.
Okay.
I got a fucking
You got
thing
me
I'm trying
The
to
excited.
say.
stoner in me is that the person who taught me to want to play guitar was John Frusciante, but that's out of the world.
from Red Hot Chili
Red Hot
Peppers.
Chili
Yeah.
Peppers.
No, I know who he is.
Specific-
Trevor's like, oh
Specifically
yeah.
the Stadium
Oh,
Arcadium record. That was the one that pushed me into being like, okay, ready made. There's a solo on there.
Okay.
Fucking nuts.
I would like to jam with you sometime.
I would love to jam.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
After the show, we'll both play the guitar.
Right.
So after thrash metal you had black. It's broken to harder a few other branches, but the main branches was death metal and black metal, and they both started in the late '70s, early '80s. You had thrash, and then by the '80s they definitely broke off. Where you had black metal had a lot more tremolo picking, a lot more high register screams, and usually they talked about Satan or nature worship, and they were usually from like Scandinavia, and it was usually they were trying to create an atmosphere like atmospheric black metal, just like bleakness. Whereas death metal was usually more gutturals and like lower register screaming. And they were more about the chugs, like the hardcore sort of chugs, like
The
chug, chug, chug,
chugs.
chug. So they were less about like doing tremolos and like high keys. They were more like doing super deep, like more like
Drop B
doing the
and-
chugs and drop E and shit. That was more their thing. Like Cannibal Corpse, they're more about doing the deep chugs, and they would also do fast solos,
Right.
but they were more about the deep chugs, lower register.
Right on.
And then obviously there were like some intermixing between like, for example, like Behemoth. They're known as like black and death metal.
Okay.
So there's like some mixes between. And then you have like grindcore, which is another thing that popped out in the 80s.
Right.
Well, there you go, folks.
talking about
There's
black metal
Trevor's
at
black
first.
metal history.
When you described the kind of sort of bleak sparseness or the atmosphere to it, I was wondering about drone and drone doom and stuff like that. It's kind of offshoots.
So
Or similar?
Doom is more like the stoner sludge, which actually was one of the first like branch of metal was obviously like Black Sabbath. They're actually considered because a lot of people that aren't aware, they usually associate modern metal where it's really fast
Right.
But initially, it was very slow from like the psychedelic era.
Folks,
Like,
if you could see this right now, Trevor is gushing.
I'm
He is
excited.
gushing with info.
When you talk about stoner shit and like, I don't know.
Black Sabbath was the first one, and then
He's
you
like,
had
it all came
Caius.
from Cypress Hill.
You also had Electric Wizard. I don't know if you've heard of them. They were
I'm
big.
not.
I'll show you that.
Whatever,
But Caius.
it's gonna be okay. You'll have
I'm
all the
excited.
time for musics.
One of
Let's
my
finish
first
this one
concerts
strong.
ever that I really loved was 2007 McDonald Theater, fucking Queens of the Stone Age.
Ooh.
It might have been '08. I get so fucking stupidly hung up on it. if
I know
got
Caius
dates right.
became them. Yeah.
Because of the album Era Vulgaris came out in 2007. And I think
Nice.
the tour might have been that year or the next year.
Nice.
Cool. They gave us free stickers afterwards. Like
Stickers.
Usually you have to pay for a sticker set at a merch table.
Sometimes
But
they
instead
give you
they
a
have
sticker.
people outside out front just fucking.
How much did you pay for the ticket?
I don't know. McDonald Theater price in the fucking then it probably been what, $28, something like that. 35
That's not
bucks, maybe?
sticker prices, man. Those people gave those stickers out of the heart. You know, those are
Right.
heart-giving stickers. They
Oh,
said
yeah.
you're gonna have a good time with this
You're
sticker.
getting all
What
the
would
little
be
bastards.
sticker prices? You know.
I don't know. You remember
I'm
when
about
you
to
were a
slang
kid?
things. I have a show
Usually-
on Friday.
You remember when
tomorrow.
you were a kid?
I've been
you'd
to a
get
lot of
those little
shows.
coin stickers. You remember you'd put like
Yes.
$1.50 and you get a badass
Stickers are
holographic
usually
sticker.
$1. At least shows I've been to, usually like $1, and it's like just the name of the band. I usually
I've
go
never
for
bought a
patches
sticker
because I
from
would
a
sew 'em
show.
on, so I would go for like a patch like for like $2 to $5 usually.
Sick.
But I've noticed a trend where there's less patches now. Now it's
Yeah.
more stickers, which is stupid. Patches are a traditional
Right.
thing,
Trevor's
but now
like,
they're
"I
like,
want the
"Oh,
patch
we just
back."
got stickers."
Trevor's bring the
Think the
patch
stickers are
back
for your
argument
laptop
is
and
going
watermark.
down.
Yeah, I want a fucking patch to put on the jacket, so I'm under a bridge
Trevor.
doing sketchy things. I want the
Trevor,
patch on there.
it's okay. Stop doing sketchy things under bridges, motherfucker. You
What?
ain't no troll.
I like the party. Yeah, go
Piss
for
during
it.
the party?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, folks, we're going to try to get back on the rails. Trevor just gushed for 10 minutes.
I like music.
He does like music, folks. All right, so we're going to get into our pornography segment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to start talking about porn. So I'm of the impression that porn has lost its storytelling. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a little hard to do that when it's just like 10 dicks and just bukkake. Like, it's hard
Well,
to
I
do
think
this.
that at a time, you know, when pornography was like the new thing, it was probably very like story bound. You know, there was probably like this lonely guy comes over and, you know, this girl's there and she's doing something naked. You know, it's all of a sudden. But now it's just like, all right, I'm your stepsister. Let's do this. Very strange dynamics there. You know, I think that there needs to be more pageantry and more
sound like
story in pornography.
Good porn genres.
Trevor is more of the
I like nature.
idea where he
Like-
wants a good scene. He wants a good backdrop.
I want a beautiful stand of fir trees, or like, ooh, look at that endangered tree frog.
You know,
over there.
it's
There's a beach.
honestly
Like,
talking.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's
That's what I
honestly
want.
talking like director. What is it?
Like a
Camera
cowboy
guys
movie.
versus writers or something. You know,
Yeah.
somebody appreciating a
I want
beautiful,
a beautiful
view.
scene of like a hilltop with 10 different
I don't give a
colors
fuck.
of wildflowers.
I could
as
find-
this chick is just getting her guts beaten in. Like it's
Trevor's
there you
like,
go.
I love this scenery. But I'm more of the impression that I could see a chick get railed in a porta potty, but if there's a great story and some love in there in the scene, I can get into that, you know? Because I think that that's more realistic. You don't always have a beautiful backdrop to screw in. Usually when you're having sex with a girl, it's like hopefully at your house or something, or maybe, you know, at a buddy's place or fucking at a party maybe, you know? Like the places
you're in the
that...
public, it
Sometimes
happens.
you're in the public, but I don't think you go to crazy places to have sex. Not everybody does that, but maybe more people should. Is that the argument? More
Like,
people should
I
go
would,
to great places.
I would love to
fuck?
have that happen in the cemetery. I'm hoping cemetery someday.
Trevor, your definition of good is very different than other people's
I
definition
love
of
the
good.
cemetery.
He's like, I want to take a goth chick down to the cemetery
Hell yeah,
and bang
dude.
her on a tombstone. I'm like, I just want to meet a chick, bro. Maybe take her out to dinner, you know, and see where the night takes us. Trevor's like, nope, graveyard.
Tough topic for me because as far as porn, I've never seen it. Never heard it.
You've never seen pornography. God
I think-
damn it,
I think
man.
he's
We're
being a
about to
little
blow your
sarcastic.
I
mind.
am
We're about to
Japanese.
blow your mind.
I'm Japanese, man.
I think I'm turning
I've seen
Japanese.
porn.
I really think so. Damn it.
Porn.
That's
I know
awesome.
you're being sarcastic.
The
obviously.
coolest part about Japan is Japan has taken the initiative
tentacle
over
porn,
everybody
like-
to push the pornography genre.
I mean,
so
that,
odd though how it's so incredibly lewd because
Yes.
in part because
Yep.
but not fully because the government is like
backing it.
blur everything else.
Of course.
You have to blur all
Yes.
that. Any
Yep.
kind of whatever.
Yeah,
And
it's
weirdly
actual
arbitrary,
penile penetration. They
penile
don't want to
penetration
see a
into the
hard
mouth
dick
or
into a vagina.
Right, exactly.
Which goes into the disagreement of like, well, how did you people get here?
It's very homophobic to them.
Of course.
Also,
They don't like to see gay
what
guys.
about women that are lesbians and doing getting all offended? Is that
Yep.
completely all chill?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
because people like to see women eat each other out. No,
Somehow less legitimate.
exactly.
As a sexual act.
Love between
Fuck this, you
two
can be fired up,
partners.
y'all.
Love between two partners or pornography filmed and paid for. Regardless, it should be treated as such. It's a fucking job, yo. These people are going out of their way to perform a service so that you can come. Treat these people accordingly, you know. And
I really
the
do,
dignity
like-
of seeing a man's hard dick, you
The
know, when
silly
it's
thing-
not
Maybe there's a peacock or an ostrich in the background. Who knows?
like that. Peacocking.
Right. Yeah, but you know, it's an interesting thing to get into because again, this is me branching into a different tone of
Sure.
talking about any of these issues.
Sure.
Like you guys have referred to,
And we just
women.
wanna put a
You guys have
disclaimer
referred to-
on
you
this.
guys I'm not being a white knight here or nothing, but you guys refer to women as pussy and bitches,
of
and
course.
stuff. And
I'd hope they refer to us as the same.
There we go. I like
And
that.
I think
'cause
that
we're
they
gonna
do.
Talk about
I
that
think women
because-
call men pussies and they call men bitches all the time. So it's if we want equality, let's just lay
We
it out
should
on
have
the
an
table.
open discussion,
Everybody
like,
can say
All right,
whatever
what
they
do you
want,
call us
do whatever they
when
want.
you're with
That's
other
equality.
women? What do you call us? Because I know you call us things too. But then
Whitey,
I've asked
honky.
I've asked
fucking-
a couple women that, and then suddenly they have to go do
Redneck
something else all of
cracker.
a sudden. Like, oh, what's over here? Da da da. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here?
I think that everybody just needs to chill out, yo, and remember that when you were a kid on the playground, one of the biggest rules on the playground was to play nice with the other kids. That's what we've all forgotten. We've all forgotten how to play nice with each other, and we nitpick at all the little things that we do wrong instead of saying, hey, I think that might be wrong. Maybe I can help you do better the next time.
Well,
You
it's
know?
funny because when you brought up playground, like I do come from a background of like from in the schools and like high school, for example. I was like a kid that the admins wanted to help lead like an anti-bullying like thing,
Sure.
and bullying in their view was including say a lot of people would say like that's so gay and fag and stuff
No,
like
of course.
things like
verbal
that.
verbal
right,
bullying.
and a lot of stuff was really
be
really
very
made a hostile
PC.
climate for gay,
Yep.
and so.
like
it was-
Smear the Queer was a big game. I remember the '90s.
There's
that
a
was
bunch of bad
yeah.
stuff from our school days, and so now like we're this really interesting cultural fissure where like I could see like this fucking like just the whatever it is, left versus right,
Sure.
and PC culture versus.
I think it's right versus wrong. People
see
are
that stuff
trying to
happening
be
before
right,
it.
and I think that they lose focus on how they're getting to be right. Because when you fight for something so hard, no matter what it is, Hitler fought for fucking genocide. That motherfucker took his idea and bled it into thousands of people and said, "This is what we have to do." And regardless of good, bad, or indifferent, if you can affect people's brains in a certain way, in a certain note, they all act accordingly. And that's the sad part is when you have that power and you do, you should use it for good. You shouldn't be a dick about it and fucking try to kill a bunch of people that pretty much did nothing to you, man. I bet he got picked on by some Jewish kids. I really think that's what happened. Some
I'm,
Jewish
like,
kids at
fully
school picked
disinterested
on
in
him.
So,
any
also
conversation
in
on
art-
a
he-
podcast at all or anything ever.
He also
I'm
did go to art
indifferent
school.
I'm both indifferent to him as a disgusting person that you can just be a disgusting person.
Yep.
No one needs to hear my take on it. No, I
He's
didn't
not a
chime
good
in.
dude.
And
No,
also,
fuck
I
that guy, but
continually.
Let me let you know
I am
how it
also
wins
continually
or how
appalled
it
at
ends.
some
We
of-
win.
I'm appalled at what like shit that's crazy today that reminds me of what I learned about the Holocaust. And so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even just like that tweet from Carrie Lake. So
It's
People are
crazy
nuts,
too that there's
man.
Holocaust deniers, and like there's so much proof that
There's
it
a lot of
happened.
evidence.
How the fuck can you deny? Like there were too
I
many
used
witnesses.
to love Kanye's music, man.
Yeah, now look
He's
at you.
such an inspiration, and like
Kanye
so,
West had 3 or 4 good albums, and then all downhill and crazy from there, man.
Stop
and
taking his
that's
meds.
that's a fair assessment. I would musically give him a lot more credit than that.
I
But
think that he's produced.
Donda was trash.
I think he's produced a lot more great music than he's made.
He's clearly
he's a
like
good
so
producer.
distracted from what made him.
Yes.
There's a couple things that made him good at first was just simply the
That he did a
underdog,
song with a
underdog
broken
nature,
jaw.
the underdog nature
Yeah.
of everything.
Did a song
he
with
did.
a broken jaw.
Yeah, through the wire. But anyway,
I've
yeah.
heard College Dropout. That's the one album I've heard.
That's
about.
pretty. I mean,
It's a good
it's
one.
a reasonably innovative project with regard to his production style.
Yeah.
But he was already doing stuff like that on like the Blueprint. But yeah, no, I can't really fuck with that shit now, and especially because I do. But I believe in a path back. You know,
Of course, everybody deserves redemption to some degree.
Right.
To some degree.
You also have to be able to separate art from artists because.
But he needs to show that he has an interest in that. Cause
I think that he needs to get on his medication, bro. He's a dude that obviously suffers from some sort of mental distress, and when he's not doing what the doctors recommend, which is, he's not. Obviously, he's manic. He's manic, or he's fucking bipolar, or something.
There's parts of it for sure.
And you can tell because when you
back, and it's
dude,
like
it's
I've had it too.
Panic attacks.
I've had it too. It happens.
Yeah, I had panic attacks leading up to it and stuff. So if I had a better sense of what might lead up to what happened,
and when you don't realize that something like that is happening to you, you don't believe it. Because it's not happening to you. It's happening to everybody else.
And we are human.
You know what I mean?
Shit happens.
Well, for my situation, my mental state getting to that point arose so much out of isolation and feeling condemned and judged by everyone around, and paranoia and
we're
and stuff.
men.
So like,
we are men,
of
bro,
course, I was primed for the loved ones in my life to be like, whoa. I think we need you to get some slow down and help get some attention here.
Because
for me to be like, no, you don't get it. You don't get it.
Well, they'd rather have you in their life. They'd rather have you around than you being upset and manic and that's the craziest part that I think I had to realize is that when I started having panic attacks, it was more like, well, this is how I die. I have a heart attack and just die. But I realized there was a path back. I had to learn to control my world. And I think that's something that people have lost the ability to do, is learn to control their own circumstances. The world doesn't give you a lot, but it gives you what you've earned. You know what I mean? So you got to work for a lot of things in this world and hope to keep them, but you're never going to keep them.
I'm kind of heartened because this is the second time I've ever met you guys. First time was at a McDonald's.
Monday, yeah.
Let's call it Russian McDonald's. What's that called? They have the Russian knockoff McDonald's now.
It's
good
nice
food.
to know that
good
I have
food.
a little
drink vodka.
I have a little kinship with a couple other fellows around my age who know this community and live around here, who have also dealt with some of that.
Yeah.
For lack of a better phrase, mental health stuff.
Sure.
Neurodivergence, whatever, and so many things because.
That's why I moved up here.
It's fucking. And another thing that's cool about it is like, having a space to talk about whatever the fuck. I do think, and I am often in my head about what people think about the shit. It doesn't matter as much as fucking what we are really doing here.
Yeah.
Which is in good spirit.
Exactly.
We are trying to.
I hope that
I really
honestly
think you guys
nobody
have
is
excellent
offended.
character.
I hope
You know what I'm
nobody
saying?
is ever offended.
I'm
if
sorry
they
for being
are,
the most. Like,
I will be the first to apologize. But in that same sense, I think that if you don't have that conversation, if you don't have the hard talk sometimes,
You have to have it.
you build up as a person.
Yeah.
You build that up in your own mind, and instead of saying what's bothering you or saying comically how you feel or whatever, it becomes a problem for you.
I definitely get
Depression,
that isolation,
anxiety, all that shit.
Because when you
this
spend,
is our out, man.
Yeah.
This is the podcast that we do.
Because
help
when you
other
spend
people.
10, 12 hours, like I've had jobs, like
that's our best thing is we come and wind down and do this shit.
When you have like 10, 12 hours where you're alone, you're under a bunch of screening machinery, and you're shoveling all day, and you're trying not to die. Yeah,
I cut wood all day.
Or like
saw blades constantly.
Yeah,
he sharpens them, I use them.
And I'm sure we've all.
Same place?
He's sharpened blades for my company before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have.
Sick.
But I mean, I've had a lot of. I come from a long history of using a lot of blue collar jobs where just you're supposed to be men. You fucking do you do your
with
time.
Your problems.
You deal with your
hard,
problems,
and you drink hard.
And you drink hard, and then you fucking show up the next day.
Yeah, and that's
God damn
the
it,
problem.
you show up the next day.
It builds bitter men.
Oh, you're
and
not feeling
builds,
good? Show up the fucking next day.
Well, it builds people that resent their life, man.
Yes, and I've seen older
life
guys
has been cruel to them.
Yeah, and I see that with older men, so then they want to carry it to the next generation.
You can't do
And
it, man.
I would
have
also
to stop
think-
it
I
somewhere.
would definitely
One
like to
thing
break
that
that chain.
A little subtext for me is I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, but those men that come home and then show up the next day, what people do in their home was less regulated before,
Yes.
and that was negative in many senses for other people that have to live around those drinking, angry,
I'm a child
beating your family.
I'm a child
misogynistic
of
in many cases men. You know what I'm saying? So that was fucking.
I'm a child of two very hardcore drug addicts. My dad eventually got sober, and he took care of his children. My mom really never got sober. She went to prison for 8 years. She got out. She started doing dumb shit again. She's now dying from her lifestyle that she chose. So, if anything, it showed me, because I had an alcohol problem for 15 years, it showed me, like, really bad, that hard drugs were never the answer. You know, weed, whatever. That's debatable. Yeah. Alcohol is a sneaky one because it's so common and it's so commonplace and everybody's socially accepted it. Right. But the people that suffer from alcoholism is really crazy, you know. And I think that in life, you got to pick and choose the things that you do to yourself. And I think for a long time I was focused on numbing, you know, my senses. But now that I've gotten sober for almost a year, man, it was a great thing. It was really cool. Right. And it's going to continue to be cool if I keep it up, you know?
Yeah.
All right, Trevor, are you ready to play us out? We ran this one about 10 minutes long.
That's right. Do you have any last
announcements?
Anything?
10 long.
We're going to go ahead and have Thomas, or we're going to go ahead and have Gradient over here do the uploading of our episode, and we're going to, it's okay. I could be lying right now. Nobody knows.
It's Frank, everybody. It's fucking Frank. Frank is going to help us later load this episode. It's going to be great.
No, we just, the subtext there is fucking like, I've got my name and y'all don't really need to know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
The man's here. He's here to do a job.
As like a character.
He's here.
Kind of
He's here, man, and that's all you need to know.
Paid. Yeah, Frank.
But we're going to go ahead and get an episode uploaded here in a moment, and we'll kind of show you how we do that.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, man. Do it. All right, folks, we'll catch you next time. Appreciate you being here. Any last lines to leave on, y'all?
Bah. Don't watch out. It's a frog eat dog world out there.
All right. Tip your bartenders and spill your waitresses.
Or piss on your waitresses and tip your urinals.
All right, everybody. Peace.